Okay, today we're going to talk about loops in Python. Now, what is a loop? A loop is just a way of repeating something over and over until a certain condition is met. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Now, this example is going to be a little different from the ones we are used to. This example is going to be a story from Marvel, from one of the Marvel movies. Okay, in the movie Doctor Strange 2016, Doctor Strange used magic to trap Dormammu into an infinite time loop. If you didn't watch the movie, Dormammu is a powerful cosmic being from the dark dimension. He wants to consume Earth and pull it into his dimension, making it part of his endless, timeless void. Okay, so Doctor Strange wants to stop him, but he cannot physically stop Dormammu. So he uses the time stone to control time and trap them both in a time loop, which only has three actions or three scenarios in it, so to speak. Okay, the first is that Doctor Strange will confront Dormammu saying,
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
and then Dormammu will kill Doctor Strange. Okay, as soon as he kills Doctor Strange, then the loop resets. So Doctor Strange will reappear again saying the same thing.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Okay, and then Dormammu keeps killing Doctor Strange over and over again, brutally actually. Doctor Strange's strategy here is that since Dormammu exists in a timeless realm, meaning he's never experienced time or repetition before, being stuck in the same loop will drive him crazy, which it did. So eventually, Dormammu realized that he is trapped because he cannot escape or win. So he agrees to leave Earth alone and forever in exchange for Doctor Strange letting him out of the loop. So Doctor Strange will let him out and break the loop if he agrees to leave Earth alone. Okay, so that's that. But how is this concept related to programming at all? I mean, we are talking about looping in programming, not looping in the movies, right? Okay, but hear me out. This is kind of what the loop does actually in programming too. Okay, because Dr. Strange's time loop, if we can say it in programming terms, we can say that he used an infinite loop, and only one thing can break that infinite loop. One condition can break that infinite loop, which is when Dormammu gives up. When Dormammu says, I will not pull Earth to my dimension, okay? I gave up. So when Dormammu says that, that's the condition. So the infinite loop will break and Doctor Strange will let him out. So that's the condition. So this is related to programming's loop because it has a condition and also it has a loop body. The loop body here is Doctor Strange reappearing every time he gets killed and saying the same thing and then gets killed over again, and this thing keeps happening. So that body of the scenario is the loop body. So it has a body and it has an exit point where as soon as the condition is met, then it will break. The loop will break. Okay, so how many types of loops do we have in Python? Well, in Python, we have two types of loop. We have for loop or for loops, which we are going to talk about today, and we have while loops, which we're going to talk about in the future videos. Okay, so what is a for loop? Well, a for loop is a type of loop that keeps iterating up to a fixed number of times, and it is often used on iterables in Python. So you use it with lists, dictionaries, tuples, and stuff like that. So that is when for loop comes into play. You will use it to iterate over sequence of items, okay? And this also means that in advance, you know how many times your loop is going to run because it has a fixed number of times that it will run. For example, if your sequence have like 5 items in it, like you have a list of 5 items, then you know that whether your condition is met or not, your loop will terminate if it reaches 5 times. So it's never an infinite loop when it comes to for loops. By default, they don't, make infinite loops. You have to do some strategies to come up with an infinite loop when it comes to using for loops in Python. Okay, whether or not I've mentioned iteration or iterating, you should know what it means, okay? In programming or in programming in general, when someone talks about loops and he says iteration or iterating, it means like when the loop is going through items one by one in a sequence, that is what is called iteration or iterating. So let's say, for example, you're reading a book. If you open the next page, you are iterating over the pages one by one. So in the first iteration, your count is one. You open the first page like like this. In the second iteration, you also open the second page like so. That is iteration when it comes to looping. You iterate over things one by one, reaching them one by one. So for loop iterates over a sequence of items, like you can iterate over strings, any iterable you can really iterate over it, and it will return one item at a time per line. Like in each iteration, it will return one item. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example, or maybe we should just write the syntax of it before going into examples such that you can understand a little bit better, okay? The syntax for writing for loop is fairly easy, very easy. You just type the for keyword like this. If you type the for keyword and then you type your loop variable. Now, what is a loop variable? We know that in Python normally we define variables like this, and then we say, for example, we say we have a var which is equals to 1, right? And this is really very fine. You can do this. We're gonna actually do this. We can say we have a variable which contains a list of numbers or whatever. We have a list, so we can say for I. Actually, let's use something more descriptive here. We can say for item. Okay, for item in items, and then you do a colon. Now I'm gonna explain what's going on here. Okay, we have a variable. This variable is called items. So you type in your keyword for, and then you give it a loop variable. This is called a loop variable. If you see something, anything that comes after the for keyword is the loop variable. And then you type in the in keyword. This is built into Python, right? So it's like we use the in keyword to check for existence of something inside something. So if I print, let's say for example, if I do something like um, print, okay, if I do print and I say one in items, we've done this many times before. Now if I do print one in items, because one exists in items, we will see true. Okay, this line will return true. So that's how we use it. Now as soon as I press enter, it's going to indent, which means that we are going to write a block of code that will execute under this for loop statement. This item variable represents each item on inside these items. So for example, you can in the first iteration, this one will now be this item, and it will be returned. It will be printed out if you want it to be printed out, or whatever you want to do with it, it will be done with it. Okay, and in the second iteration, now this item is 2 because it's in the second iteration and it's on the second item, so it will return this. And in the third iteration, it will return 3 because it's now 3. So that's what is happening here. So we can come here and say, let's print the item, say print item. Okay, if we come here and run our program, say python app.py, we will see that we will have these items one on top of another, okay, like in a column. So you see they're right at the edge of this screen, but I'm sure you can see them. But let me do some space here. I will kind of do spaces, and here I will then clear this terminal and then run the program one more time. Now we have one, two, three, and they're very clear, right? I hope you understand what I'm saying up to this point. Please, if you don't, leave it in the comment. What is it that you're confused about? Okay. So now that we know that our loop will run three times no matter what, we can also give it a condition. We can also say, uh, if item, so in this condition we're checking that if the item we are iterating on right now is equals to 2, or let's say it's equals to 3 because it's the last one. We're just comparing two things here. So we're checking that if this item we are iterating over right now equals to 3, which we know that we have 3 inside this thing. So we will print something and we'll say, okay, so if we reach number 3, we will print we are in the third iteration, and then we will print the, the I. So we'll print I. So this I will be printed no matter what because it's not inside this if statement. But this if statement will only be printed if this condition is true. So if the in the first iteration this condition is not true because 3 is not equals to 1, so it will just ignore it and keep going, and will print number 1, will print 2 here because 2 is also not 3. But as soon as it reaches 3, before it printed out, because it's in the third iteration and this print statement comes first before the 3, it will just print this statement and then print the 3 below it. I hope I'm making myself clear here. Now let's see, and let's test this guys and see what is going on here. Okay, I made a mistake. I should print item instead of I. I thought we were using the I variable. Here we used item instead of I. So I thought we did this here, which obviously we didn't. So yeah, I should write item instead of I. Python did not understand what I did, so I want to clear this terminal one more time and then rerun the program. Now we shall see our thing. So we see 1, 2, and then it says we are in the third iteration, and then it printed out 3. And I hope this is kind of making sense to you. Now let's do something a little bit more relatable, something that will be more relatable to you guys. We'll do Control A and then delete these guys. So far we've been using numbers. Let's use something that can be practically used in your practices. You can also use numbers, but they're the for loops are not just used with numbers. So we can say we have a list of fruits. Now we will iterate over these fruits. So we can say for fruit in our list, for fruit in fruits, because fruits is our list. So we type our colon, we indent, and then we print the fruit. Now we run this program again, we'll obviously see the list of our fruits, right? We have mango, apple, and guava. Now, in a real world scenario, mostly you will be looping over things from your database. So you're not gonna be hard coding lists and dictionaries or tuples or something like that, just to loop over them with your for loop. You'll be fetching these kind of things from an API or from your database or something like that, and then you'll be using them. But anyways, we've seen how we can use them here, but what if we want to use them in Doctor Strange's context? Because Doctor Strange used an infinite loop. Now I told you that you can use some strategies to make an infinite loop even uh, with for loops. Now, had it been we were using while loops, this is pretty straightforward. You can just use while loops and make an infinite loop right away. But it is also very possible with for loop. Okay, so we've come to a point where we need to import a Python module. Okay, now if you don't know what is a module, it's just like this pile that we are inside, but it has a bunch of functions that you can use in your Python code. You just need to import the module. Okay, and this is built into Python, so I just need to write the import statement. For example, I can say import itertools. I believe that's the name of the module. So it's just a module for working with iterables. It has a function inside it called dot count, which will count from 0 to infinity. So here we can just say itertools.count. So we can say for I in itertools.count. I hope you're understanding what I'm doing here. We are running a loop from 0 to infinity. Actually, you know what? Instead of typing this all out, I will just post the video and just type it up, and then I'm gonna explain because I think the video is getting very long right now, and typing takes a lot of time, especially in the phone. Okay, here we go. I imported the iter tools just like I did. Okay, and then I run a loop here that says for I in itertools.count, which I told you this is a function that will actually count from 0 to infinity. So we're kind of simulating an infinite loop here. So we will print in every iteration we will print Dormammu, I've come to bargain, and we will give him a chance to respond. Okay, well, this is the input field that will collect Dormammu's response, and if the response is I give up, then we will print yay, Strange saved the world, and then we will break Dormammu out of that loop. Okay, but if he types anything else other than this, I give up, then we will not let him go. The loop will keep repeating itself like Dormammu have come to bargain. So let's run this program. I will just go out a little bit and say python app.py. So here it says Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Now Dormammu's response is going to be typed by me. So basically I am Dormammu, okay? I'm a very powerful cosmic being from the outer space. Oh, from the dark dimension. Okay, here I will say no, kill you, Strange, brutally, and then he will come back again, saying the same thing again. Okay, so Dormammu kills Doctor Strange again, and then Doctor Strange come back again, and he will not accept anything but I give up. So if I type I give up here, and what do you know? It says, yay, Strange saves the world. Now if I run this program again, and then I type again, I give up, says, yay, Strange saves the world. Okay, so I hope you get some value out of this video and you've learned something about Python's for loop and loops in general. So yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.